Hi, this is Lisa Guthrie. I'm at 505 Northeast 70th Street, Seattle, Washington, 98115. I'm going to start getting things together, and then I'm going to start getting ready for the day. It's a bit cold out, and it's not that warm. And this is a crime-ridden building, and it's called Green Lake Plaza, and you're looking at I-5. Eventually, I'm going to turn around the phone, but I'd like to note, and this is just sort of a tidbit of information. I teach, and I'm not an expert, so you need to talk to an expert if you want expert advice, or look at an expert's documentary or, their video on YouTube or other ways of instructing yourself. But when you are under siege in a gang area, or just you have a stalker, it's not a bad thing to tape as many areas and broadcast them as possible, including entrances and exits, of course. If you can get a hold of entrances and exits, this is a large driveway by which people drive up regularly or go into the premises via the vehicles. It's most convenient, and it's got the way onto the freeway, which is an exit route. We've got another couple exit routes through the neighborhoods, two of them. So one in front and then one past that large white van. So that would go down toward the lake, but there are, of course, many places you can go from there. So you've got also people parking that might be taking part in a crime. So realize you have a stalker. Well, your stalker might think they're very clever, and they might park 4 blocks away even, but they might, of course, be seen going in your building. Even if it's dark, you can always lighten a video. So, it's about 8:08 a.m., and I'm going to start my day and get out of here for the day. There's no reason to stay. It's a repulsive, grotesque place, and I'll hear satanic chanting all day by the zombie gang members. Everybody is a zombie gang member in Washington, and then I will smell blood and other foul-smelling smells, including solids, and there's no reason to stay. And then people will try to kick the door down or enter through a dark green area, and there was just a click in that area, and a horse threatening with rape. And it is an area in the building where they climb up. It's a maintenance, electrical, plumbing area. But my own grotesque criminal family that are estranged, I call them criminal family. It doesn't mean it's like, a crime family, but an actual estranged family. And they've been very much involved in such crimes as using and maintaining or making, absolutely creating illegal ways to get into people's homes, apartments, businesses, even their sheds or outbuildings, probably their vehicles as well, or even unusual abodes such as houseboats. They've been making and using ways to get in for years. Oh, one of the persons lurking is Larry Blackmer. Another one is a black male. It is a male in his 60s. He is an inebriate. He has walked through the lobby of Green Lake Plaza with an axe. I just heard his disgusting, annoying voice. He has a voice like a buzzsaw. You cannot mistake his voice. And he's an ugly boogeyman. So are the others. And the boogeymen in my state, and the boogie women, as I call them, or boogeymen, you call them boogeymen too, they just think they are quite gorgeous because they've killed 31 million people in 20 years, and they've done it very openly in 14, so there's no competition. And also, there's something about when they've killed people, there's a pattern, of course, of people that weren't very intelligent, smart, nice, normal, good-looking, killing people that were. So these things are absolutely confident about having you play girlfriend, or oh, it's your fake grandpa, you're going to walk out with an ugly male, or an ugly female, it's your new best friend. And in fact, people were facetiously referring to around the first of the month as Friend Day. And that meant a sort of captivity slavery that goes on in Washington and has gone on for years, where people are targeted, and they're targeted around the first of the month. I think this is the same woman that I may have seen. Maybe not. I was going to mention, there's a woman that just walked by. I don't know if you can see her, but she's probably wearing victim's clothing. And I've heard people tortured, I believe, and animals as well. And it's a criminal network in Washington, and they use walls. I'm not kidding you. Or like crawl space, that's the wall area, but they'll use trap doors to come in and out. They sneak around. The whole building might be kind of sort of even built or retrofitted with sort of rabbit warren of ways to pop in and out of other people's apartments, and to pop in and out of hallways. There's another ugly male. His name is Roger. He is a retarded male, again, that nobody would want, a boogeyman. And I've heard he's gleefully eaten his girlfriend. We don't need to go into too gory of descriptions. This is YouTube. So I'm trying to keep the descriptions sort of absolutely dry. Not too gory, not too suggestive. I'll say rape or sexual assault, but, things like that. But it's not going to be a gory, suggestive. And no, there is nobody normal. There is nobody nice. There is nobody normal in Washington. Not a one. And as I'm listening, I could hear a moron chanting, and he said, "You absolutely will open your brain to me." And remember, these things think they're magical, but they're into physical violence and gore. And he said, "You absolutely will open your brain to me." And so Blackbird Construction, Larry Blackbird and Michael Tedhoe have built and enhanced illegal places to stay and illegal entry for years. They've also rerouted people's sewage to punish people that were on the target list, or rerouted it so you bathe in the whole sewage of the area, and also they made sure that you would bathe in meth lab chemicals and other poisons. These bums routinely walk around playing with urine and fecal, and they'll routinely walk around playing with all kinds of poisons and bodily fluids and solids. And they really they're sick, there's nothing left. They are disgusting morons. And so they love walking around with bodily fluids playing with it. So I'm going to have my breakfast in a minute. That's kind of a gross segue, isn't it? But just talking and then going off into another tangent. And why would I say it sort of that way? Well, it's disconnected seeming, but it actually makes sense on the one hand. Why? Because usually it's stinky in here and I can't eat, but I don't smell anything and I'm going to eat my breakfast. So that sort of makes sense. And there's a whore in the closet chanting, "I'm gonna pack you, you're gonna let me in." And believe me, it's nobody that anybody would let in. It's now a zombie thing, and it's actually probably 3 generations of cannibals. And it's Melissa Udd's daughter, one of those is. And nobody's going to go near her. And there's another one who's hiding in the closet. He thinks he's very clever. His truck it's behind the closet, actually. I can't access it. It's a retard that lives in the building, and I don't use politically correct. He looks white. He's ugly. He's got a big ass, which I've seen because he bends over his little black truck that he parks out there usually. He's in the closet. It's about 5'10", 300 and some pounds, and he will come out you telling you that you're going to be a captive, you're going to be enslaved, and that you'll let him take over your apartment. He's also usually skulking and hiding in on home invasions, including through the front door, and he thought he's very clever going off to park his little truck somewhere else. So you won't know. I'm going to drink some water before I go. But you absolutely won't know because he's parked somewhere else, you know, a couple blocks away. And the tricks that the zombie gang members do, I'd like you to know that there are usually dirty cops on hand. And even if they are on duty, like 1 to 2 of them, they are, well, let's just put it this way. They're committing crimes in the building. They are cannibal zombies. And so, you know, just because they're a cop doesn't mean they can commit crimes. But the zombie gang members can't get it through their head that you're not really a cop if you're molesting someone, you know, standing in behind a closet, threatening torture, camped out in 207, pretending that your retarded friends and relatives are also cops, and that it's an army that you're commanding and that it's legal, and, you know, they're going to take you away, and based on what? Well, I'm on the genocide list, and it's based on color. I look white. But, you know, bums in Washington just can't get what's going on. They just aren't intelligent. So they will be in dangerous groups insisting that they are cops and FBI, and that could happen while they're on a mental health gurney. Or, worst case scenario, remember, because it's the moron that has the weapons in Washington. And how did the moron get assured of having weapons? The moron, the inebriate, the evil thing, was assured by dirty cops that they would have the weapons. There are dirty FBI involved as well. Dawn Blackmer's also here. That is my big, fat, estranged sister. And I would like to note that there is a whore cocking a gun in 207. And 207 has had what he thought was a good deal. He himself could make threats. And then he and whomever were in his apartment could slither down into the green areas pretending people are crazy. So basically there are a couple trapdoors into this apartment. So if you ever see anybody on video with me, it's illegal. Especially if they're near me. So Michael Benjamin Davis Wood had stayed here, but he was not allowed near me while I was sleeping at all. And he's certainly not allowed in my apartment now. He admitted to cannibal zombies and child molestation, and he threatened me. But, so people wandering around in a video on YouTube, unless I state who they are, yeah. And otherwise, but even if I stated who they are and they were near me when I was sleeping, that's not legal. But anyway, so what I was saying is, so you've got trap doors, 2 of them, or at 2 to 3 in this area alone. Then you've got 2 to 3 trap doors in the bedroom area. You've also got the fact that they hide in the crawl spaces. They can actually slither upward to 208. There's also an area outside the door where people can come through the beams and the tiles, cheap tile. There's a whore that's a loudmouth whore. She is clanking a chain. She is a loud black moron, and she is in the closet. And remember, I'm on the target list because of white skin, white-looking skin, even though I am not white. And so it's guaranteed to be a whore and a moron anyway from Elizabeth Gregory home. It's guaranteed. And so remember the false relationship ruse. So the ugly, stinky prostitute thinks if she can get you to go away with her willingly looking, then she's scot-free. And she can commit the crime then. So that's why you don't go with these people. Also, one of them just said something, I think, about cheeks done. Now, these black Nazis and these other retarded zombies, they have a fixation on absolutely making people mutilated. They are Satanists, but they are racists, and they wanted to make sure that their victims are mutilated even before death or before they're caught. They'll even think that you're going to just walk off with like a black Nazi whore and some other retard, and you'll just let them carve up your face. Another big one is mutilation of the genitals. So FGM. And remember, it's an ugly whore and it's a loudmouth moron. And remember, the loudmouth morons in my state are very, very confident because she's gotten away with this. So it's an ugly female that nobody would want, nobody would like, nobody really would walk off with, but they have because of the dirty cops. Guess what? I don't play that game. And I will call the police even on the cops. And there's no reason why I would be walking off with a dirty black moron anyway. Remember, I'm part black, but I have no reason to walk off with a black moron. And you are guaranteed that she is a moron. There is a whore clicking a gun, 207, or there's a crawl space hot spot where the fridge was. Am I going to go with them? No. They'll even try to have you made afraid, and so you'll go into a crawl space. You'll use even a subterranean passage, like into Roosevelt self-storage. I'm going to eat my rest of my shrimp. Oh, and I should pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as earth is in heaven. Please forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. For thine is kingdom, power, and the glory forever. Amen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as earth is in heaven. Please forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. For thine is kingdom, power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now, you'll note Now, if you can hear on the other camera, the attempts to break in might get even worse. But remember, I'm not going with a foul retard loudmouth. She's just a loudmouth moron. She's an ugly moron. There's no reason to be around her. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as it is in heaven. Please forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil, for that is kingdom, power, and the glory forever. Amen. There's a bum playing. You're going to give salutation. Yeah, the only salutation will be the middle finger that you get. It's a fat ugly retard. That one from Aurora DSC or Roger. And where do I hear the retards? I hear some behind the closet. Remember, people have called the police on it. Another area is where the morons sit and chant all day in that green building, area of the building. And remember, these are ugly people. Nobody would go with them. And another retard is chanting in his moron voice. Warrant. He's chanting about a warrant that doesn't exist. These bums will play official and legal language. And the ugly, retarded boogeymen and women have dragged people off openly for 14 years. I've seen what looks like blood on park benches. I've seen like clothing, bags of clothes or something. I didn't look in the bag. A purse and a walker at the bus stop. Where'd the person go with the walker? I've seen blind canes. So they seem to think if they hit you or torture you enough, ooh, you're just going to be so tame. Me, I'll go the other way. And they're going to have more trouble. They've just gotten more trouble for ruining my life. And for sacrificing animals around me. They've gotten me, actually, you're going to get a more, well, it's not going to be as easy to walk off with someone like me. Another moron is chanting Charlie and rubric. They tend to talk in gang code, and they think they're brilliant and that you won't know they're shouting threats because they're chanting Charlie and rubric or something. He means teeth out. And then they're playing gossip. They're retardos, and they also like to play as though you have destroyed their privacy, and that what you're doing is illegal. I mean, it just goes on and on. They're manipulative. What would one way they'd represent, like they deceive people and say, she's taking my privacy, she's following me. What would that mean? Well, to the gang member, remember, the gang members saw me. They lie constantly. So having your video camera on in your room, they might tell people you followed them around with the video camera. Or you walk out to the bus and you know somebody from the building is going to try to attack you and follow you. So you have your video camera on. So you followed them, allegedly. You were stalking them. And it's very popular by people of color to act as though you're stalking them or threatening them. And this is in between rape threats and assaults by the people of color. There's a bum chanting about a boyfriend that doesn't exist. They're playing have your boyfriend ID'd. They like to talk as though they're professional. And remember, it's a moron. But the moron is in with the dirty police. There's somebody making a threat about a foot. One of the whores that's here, it's a retarded whore named Amy. She is my cousin, a hillbilly moron mongoloid. It's a mongoloid person. She's originally from Port Orchard, and her family is Mormon. Her father was a head injury about 20 years ago. He was an elder in the Mormon church. I don't know which Mormon church, probably Port Orchard area. And she's got at least 4 other siblings. Now they're chanting about Mexicans. The Mexicans will even chant about Mexican here. They'll use code, including the names of ethnicities. So you won't know who the victim is or what they're talking about because you hear the word Mexican. The other day, there was an ethnicity that some of these bums have, a lot of them have targeted, and they're all connected to people who have targeted them, even if they are Italian. Remember, they're zombie. There's nothing left of them. So they've targeted Italians. So one of the other morons, I think it was Elizabeth Gregory Home, was teaching the other moron that they were calling guns and gunshot, or guns and shooting people Italians. And remember, one of the games is to alter the code all the time so nobody knows what they're saying. What am I eating? I'm eating shrimp. And I'm eating chips, a little cheese, and a few bites of cauliflower. There's a whore chanting about, it's Amy the retard chanting about their family. I don't have a family. They're all estranged. They're all morons. Nobody would want them. She just made a threat about my cheeks, and she has threatened to eat chunks of me, including my face. There were at 4 to 3 dirty cops, and then 2 dirty cops here last night, probably 3. And the bums were still going on about cannibalism, and the dirty cops are also cannibals. Officer Howard had his retarded sister playing policeman. There's another one chanting about a phone bill that doesn't exist. Now, what's the phone bill that they're chanting about? Well, let's put it this way. I woke up 14 years ago and they're playing phone bill. They were playing phone bill and bills that don't exist. So you tell me what an ugly, retarded person would have your phone bill for. And then they're chanting about ruining history with their curses and saying, they like to call people Johns. And she's playing, have you have Johns even in history? Remember, she's a psychopath. She could be rounded up for chanting. Put her in a mental institution for chanting. Remember, they're morons. I'll show you what I was eating in a minute on one of the cams. Now, Amy is chanting in a code about FGM. She said, I must have your bikini. She said, I also must have you do cannibalism. Remember, the last time I saw Amy, when she wasn't creeping around, about 27 years ago, she was getting married. She was a slow female. She always was slow. Those kids didn't look too normal anyway in that family, on my mother's side anyway. They were usually ugly or disabled looking in some way, but so is Washington. Now she's chanting, I'm your demon. The ugly thing's chanting, I'm your demon. Oh, there's a whore, and she's chanting, oh, it's Amy, I think. You're indentured to me, blah, blah, blah. Now she's going off into a tangent about Irishmen. I think Mary Alice Knotts is still here. There might be one good cop still here. Oh, and they're playing consensual. the person that I'm hearing chanting is. They like to pretend that you consented to be harmed. If you could hear them chanting, you would know they needed to be put away. Just hearing them. You'd have them put away the first day. I was about playing Blow Your Head Away. Remember, it's the retardos that have the guns and the dirty cops let them. Sick retards. Now there's a druggy male chanting about England. It's the fat ass maggot from Aurora, DSC. He has a beard. They're chanting, "You're not going to have breakfast." People starved. People that were on the genocide list. And remember, these are cannibal zombies, but they want all the food. It is not unusual. Oh, they're talking about a skill saw and chopping me up. How should I just use a skill saw? One of the bums is bragging he uses skill saw on puppies. So let's put him in the body of that puppy. Let's put all of these zombies in the bodies of their victims. And I'm not joking, I heard that. Connect them to the pain. It doesn't hurt to curse a zombie evil thing. Amy is chanting about nose spray. What is nose spray? And she's playing courier, Dawn. So she's gone into a tangent about being a courier. And they like to think that if they put an LY ending or a DON ending on something, you won't know what they're talking about. So nose spray is breaking your nose. The thing is, I'll hit back. Remember, they think if you're just threatened enough, if you're tortured enough, you're just going to do what they say. There's a bumbling, absolutely blah, 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 blah. These retardos are also, they attempt to be very dominant. And it's like their program, and like they're just the will of Satan in one big giant head in Washington. That's all it is. And there's nothing left. And now she's got into a psychotic tangent about Guthrie. And they want me to get into in with them forced. Why? One of the reasons is so they could then target more white people's names. And one of them is Guthrie. There's a whore playing, and then the retarded hooker is now going off into a tangent about movie stars or Guthrie. And remember, these things are walking around and they're actually telling people what to do and grabbing them. And remember, a lot of them stink from the blood and guts that they play with and the urine. remember, these are ugly retardos. And one of the horrors is chanting about prejudice against her. It's Mary Alice Knotts, and she's not any whiter than, or any more of color than I am, really. And she looks like a big fat white woman. And if you really know want to know who's actually had prejudice against Mary Alice Knotts, it's the Native Americans. They've even called her a big fat white woman, so black. She's allegedly half Native American. I think she's actually part black. And these bums like to play racism and Nazism while they're actually performing gross acts of Nazism and racism. And it was secret that they were admiring World War II Nazis. Who was? Well, the people that went in on the genocide. The people that are against white Semites, warm-skinned Europeans, and white-looking people, they're very much in on the genocide, but they also admire Nazis of World War II. They will use death camp names and corrupted German names. Remember, not every German is a Nazi, of course. And they've been threatening to harm more horses, and they're playing Getting You Outside, and Mary Alice is trying to do magic. They will, so remember, it's these psychotic freaks also that will try to have slaves. And Mary Alice has now gone into a chant about it being expensive for Negroes. So you find this lunacy about expensive. The gangs will actually, they have a false economic system where you are charged for doing such things as eating a banana, and you'll actually be followed around. And so these bums then get in with the black Nazis and the other Nazis, including Asian Nazis, Hispanic Nazis. Those are some of the big ones. There are others as well. And then they'll actually have an economic system based on killing and carving up people and getting their identities. They especially like identities that will keep producing. And they'll try to enslave a person so that their identity will still produce for them. Even like a fat ass like Mary Alice might glom onto someone and force them to give up his or her security check, social security check. So that would be an example of, and that's very popular among black males and females, where it's your new best friend. They're going to go everywhere with you. And one way they'll do it, like a fat ass like Mary Alice, because they're food obsessed. Even though they're cannibals, they don't want other people eating. So, forcing you to go to the store with them. And then you pick up a couple $100 worth of the big fat pig's grocery. Now, Mary Alice Knotts, she is not unrecognizable. She's not untraceable. She lives in a pink, it looks like a pink, I think it's for seniors building on Capitol Hill. And there's a whore that's telling me you're going to be her slave. What they'll try to do is, they've tried all these different people with me, like you're going to be so-and-so slave, you're going to be so-and-so slave. So apparently Mary Alice Knotts is one of them, and they'll try to even have you as a slave where you're taking care of one of the ugly old zombie bastard things. One of the popular slave threats here, because they're constantly killing people and processing them here, well, they get their clothing. So they think that you'd be a slave and wash their clothes for them, you know, that are actually victims' clothes. Also, they are gory, and they're Satanists, and they're constantly sacrificing animals and torturing them and using them for meat. So they use a lot of towels to sop up the mess. So the slavery threats in this building and out include towels. Washing towels for retards. Evil retards. Washing towels. And so Mary Alice is getting up there in age. She's also a big woman with a big ass. She also has a walker. So they probably think they could get me to leave with big ass bitch, and nobody's gonna notice. So it sounds like Mary Alice Knotts has a plot about slavery and also handing over money. And I heard one of them shouting about taking or giving her money or something. And she goes to Recovery Cafe, and she's active in the Native community. She is Cherokee, but she was, quote, adopted by one of the tribes up here. And she hangs out with them, and she goes on canoe trips in the Native American community. She is not untraceable. And she is a dirty bum. She looks white, by the way. She's no more of color than I am. She has usually long brownish hair that she's very vain about, like a light brown. And then she's got big bluish green eyes. She's got a big honking voice. She looks like kind of like a man. There's nothing, she looks like a man. She's got a big ass. She probably is using her walker. She likes to kind of dress up like an old lady, and she's active in the Native community. So these bums will also portray people as their best friend. So if you were with Mary Alice, she might leave you scrubbing at her house, loan you out to her friends. This is typical of the zombie. And there is no reason to go near Mary Alice Knotts. Oh, her big fat daughter a few years ago was working at Virginia Mason. Remember, these ugly things are not untraceable. And there is a whore in the closet yapping. Could be Carla, and her name was Logston formerly. And she's a crack cook. She's got a medium tan, well, it's pretty dark actually. And so in the summer, she was menacing me at the bus stop. She looked like she was on crack. She thought she was very pretty. She has a sea serpent look, with the look of a sea serpent, long neck, and a horse's head. Not pretty, not normal, practically flicking out her long tongue, just like a sea serpent. Ugly. Mary Alice Knotts has several kids. A daughter who wouldn't talk to her. And I don't know if she ever got back together or found her. She had rather a ladylike name that sounded like she'd lifted it from the pages of a romance book. She changed her name. Of course, it's an English name. All these retardos that target various ethnicities, well, they like to take on the characteristics of these ethnicities. Her other daughter is a big, huge fat ass. Her face wasn't bad, but she was a tank of about 470 pounds. And she worked as a nurse's aide at Virginia Mason. Mary Alice is an ex-nurse, allegedly, that was a drunk and a prostitute. She lived in Alaska. She's from these swamps originally. It's not Florida, it's Louisiana. She has an indigent son, and last time I heard he was living at a storage, but that was about 16 years ago. You can find the big fat ass at Recovery Cafe. Mary Alice Knotts is known for her basketry. Oh, she's chanting "We're demons." I'd like you to know about Mary Alice. She pretends she's a devout Catholic. And at one point, she thought she'd have a new life taking care of nuns. But she has just professed that they're demons. Her name 16 years ago was Ma Knotts at MSN.com or something like that. She called herself Ma Knotts. Oh, somebody else is chanting about Hebrews. Remember, a lot of the black Nazis and the people in with the black Nazis like to target Jews and then turn around and call themselves Hebrews. They do that about Norwegians, Italians, Irish, Englishmen. And what is that? What's part of it also? Remember, they are thinking of the invisible and the paranormal. So they'll call themselves by the name of the person who's favored, that they've targeted for a reason. So they get the good wishes of, well, directed toward that group. Gosh, remember how big fat Mary Alice and her walker, they're so mysterious. Their big fat daughter. Remember, even if they went to Mexico, they would take two plane seats. Let me get a little chocolate. They would they would take two, I keep saying eat and taking two planes. They would actually, the daughter might need 3 plane seats to get the hell away. Big mystery. You'll never find her. I mean, what's the daughter going to do? Walk away and become a fat Elvis impersonator? She's so big, I don't see how she could stand. She probably quit nursing. She probably went on welfare or Social Security. Now you've got people with criminal connections that make them sound less than innocent. You've got Julia, who comes here from Elizabeth Gregory home, and she was a dominatrix. Well, she makes threats with the others about whipping. You've got Mary Alice. Mary Alice was a former prostitute. I also believe she was in the slave trade, targeting hapless women. So a lot of that prostitution she did might have been involved. She might have been involved in human trafficking of white women then. And Mary Alice, even though she looks white, she'll scream about white. She'll scream about whites and cutting them up. When she plied her trade as a prostitute in Alaska, allegedly some of the people were police or city mayors. She wasn't that attractive. She always looked like a big ogress. If you're wondering where I knew her from, I knew her from Seattle Housing Authority building, Capitol Park Apartments. 16 or so years ago. There was an essay in between bites of breakfast on how to find Mary Alice. Big mysterious Mary Alice with alternate identities. Now I wonder how many identities Mary Alice has. So she's got about 10 identities or more. Now, there must have been fat women that looked white, is all I can say. Larger women, fat women, at least 8 of them. So Mary Alice Knotts has at least 8 to 10 identities of fat white women. Now remember, I'm of color, and ironically, here's the irony. There wouldn't have been any identities if it hadn't been for the white people, or Semites, or warm-skinned Europeans, or white-looking people. And Mary Alice, if she were just Native American, she wouldn't even have had a written language. Isn't that ironic? Think of where Mary Alice would be without white people. Isn't it so interesting? And one of the horror is playing roommate, and they like to refer to slaves, including slaves that they would force to take care of people in their own room. Forced to take care of people in their own room as a room aide. Room aide. And they're playing assisting me with shower. Would I go near Mary Alice now? No. And it's a big, fat, repulsive, kidnapping bitch. Big, fat, cannibal, shit ass. And I wouldn't go near Mary Alice now for all the tea in China. She's a gross bitch. So Mary Alice Knotts, big, fat-ass woman with longish hair. She's also made a kidnapping slave threat about taking care of her. Remember, she's hideously ugly. And I was sort of her friend a few years ago, but she was so ill-tempered, you couldn't stand to be around her. And also, it's like I went to help her one day with her computer. And I had this weird feeling like she could end up stabbing me. There's a bum yapping about Kentucky. So it's like, yeah, help someone with the computer, but they're so ill-tempered, they're going to stab you. Now there's a whore cocking a gun. I don't know if you can hear it, and it's behind this wall where I'm at. I ate a little too much chocolate. that's, I guess, how I respond to some of the stress, eating too much chocolate. So remember, big, mysterious Mary Alice. You'll never find her. Big, fat slaver. And now Mary Alice likes to weep over her babies that she miscarried. And she had, or has, she has a double uterus. She had cancer quite a few years ago, and she actually had the vagina removed. I don't know the details, external or internal, otherwise I would have just said labia or something. I believe her vagina was removed for cancer. Never feel sorry for the zombies. Remember, they're the same things, you can't call them people, that have chopped up poor little animals and people. And, oh, they're bragging about skinning. And remember, so she's bragging about skinning. And remember, when Mary Alice has tortured animals and people, they've been alive and conscious. That's the Satanists. They like suffering and torment. Show her her ancestors. And would anyone want to be near Mary Alice now? No. She's an ugly bitch that's evil. Show her her ancestors. I want her to see them, because I put a beautiful curse on them. So every time you skin someone, you're going to skin your real ancestors, uglies. And kill them and torture them. And actually, it's backdated for all the stuff. So I've got 2 cameras on, and the sound of these morons is unbelievable. So Mary Alice and others, just hurt a cat, apparently. And then they were chanting about how it would go after Irishmen. And boy, did they get a nice curse back, didn't they? And I'm going to teach you about what Mary Alice reminds me of. In a minute, as soon as I get this heater on over here, and make sure it's not burning the cord or something. And I need this cord on for my phone. Remember, these are gross freaks. So remember, what is Mary Alice going to do? Go to Mexico on a plane and rent 2 seats? Is Mary Alice going to pay for 2 seats and flee the country? And let's all cry for Mary Alice with the bad liver from drinking. Let's all cry. Have a tear for those zombies, you know. They're just so valuable, too, huh? I'm propped up my phone with the phone battery. There's too much torque. I wasn't smart enough when I saw this sale on plug-in power strips. I wasn't thinking, yeah, the cord's only 1.5 foot. So anyway, you've got the traffic cam over here, which is important. And I was going to say, if you want to know what Alice reminds me of, well, she reminds me of a lot of the women in Washington that are big. They're like Wendigos. That you can look that up. That's a mythological creature in the Indian, in several of the Indian tribes, at least one. And I think it's actually, there's a Canadian link. And we're not just talking Bigfoot, we're talking an evil spirit that cannibalizes hapless children, etc., and drags them off. So, and remember, this woman has wept about her own miscarriages. You know, that double uterus, that doesn't mean that Little Wendigos came very easily, I suppose. I don't know what happened there. And I just heard another cat crying. Make sure that all of these zombies' ancestors are tortured. And, you know, instead of just, you remember I can't bulldoze into a wall. I'd be the one arresting myself. They'd have the SWAT team coming. Which actually you need the SWAT team coming for these things. Show them all their ancestors. I want you to see your ancestors. I want you to see them. Remember, you worked on them and you worked on your own bodies. As you harmed the animals and the people, you worked on your own bodies. There's a war-playing tool shop, and she's cocking a gun, making a captivity, kidnapping threat about a tool shop, which could be a torture threat. Remember, I've heard people actually tortured even where? Well, at construction sites. I've heard people sawn up at construction sites. One of the things chanting and whining and plotting is a fat ass from Aurora DSC. He is one of the ugly boogeymen. And remember, even though he's hideously ugly, it's the fat maggot with a beard. There's two maggots that I referred to from that place. And the fat maggot with the beard, he was used to people walking off with him. So he doesn't know how ugly he is. He is retarded as well, like the others. He does not know how. Oh, and then Kathy Cox is here. Melissa Udd is playing the name Ilsa. Ilsa. And they're also now, I'm wondering if it wasn't a play on the word ill, because they will try to debilitate their victims with illnesses. So just wondering. And so one of the bums is panicking because I've told about Mary Alice and how to find the ugly thing. Oh, and there's a horror play. You just got to give me the key today. Is she going to get the key? No. But she could get a SWAT team up her ass. Isn't that as good? Would you like a SWAT team up your ass? Because there's nobody I'd give the key to. You're ugly freaks. You're evil. Remember, they did a genocide. 30 million people in 20 years. Well, guess what else? So they purposely killed pretty nice, normal people, so you know what's left, don't you? It's Mongoloid. Oh, and they're playing keypad, industry-made keypad. So in this apartment, 505 Northeast 70th Street, Seattle, Washington, 98115, they have threatened to use a, quote, keypad method of captivity in regard to me. So, keypad. And is that legal? No. And what is when they're playing heroin? And you'll hear the word suggesting and interview. What would those be? Well, they're menacing and threatening you, but they're using the word interview. Suggesting. So they're trying to tell you what to do. Remember, you cannot let them tell you what to do because they are morons. That's why you don't let them tell you what to do. There's nothing left of them. They're straight from the devil. And they are not just evil, but they're morons. They're morons that had a racist agenda, and they went against God, mankind, and nature. Their actions every second are deplorable. And if they're not physically committing a crime, they're usually found chanting about the evil that they want done. Or they're usually threatening people in an aside, or talking about evil. A lot of the evil they talk about constantly: torturing and raping. They can't get their mind out of their genital area. They are retarded and evil. Part of it, I believe, it's just like a virus that wants to keep going and going. So picture the state as a series of cells. Well, the bad cells got the good cells out. They targeted people that were pretty, nice, normal, intelligent. They replaced them with the mongoloids themselves. They bred mongoloid with mongoloid. Mongoloid. So the inferior cells are now left trying to propagate themselves. And picture a Wendigo, look it up, and then you've got the Wendigo crying over her miscarriages, and that's now in between chopping up babies, and she was involved in a cult. I'm not sure now that she wasn't chopping up babies in that cult. And it was something like the Rosicrucians, but in the swamps, seems like they tweaked things a bit where it was outright devil worship, not even conceal this meditation or whatever. And I do remember a few years ago, she had a fixation on people of two different eye colors. She swore they were witches. And she said, you're ignorant if you don't know that. So you're dealing with ignorant morons who want to rule the world. You're already dealing with a person who ravingly screamed how she hates white people. My big fat pig sister and the rest of my family, they are secret black Nazis. You'd have to be a black Nazi or some kind of Nazi if you're involved with these people to make sure there's nothing but the heater can blow. My heater a few months ago, or about a month ago, actually blew out some sparks. So I'm getting, heater holes, which I only have, why? In case there's a power outage. And they smell good. They smell nice. With your heater blowing, you don't know if they can leave those candles, believe me. And remember, I don't sit around cleaning. I can sweep later and clean out. So what I'll do is just get my, and there's a whore telling me I'm going to help her clean. Am I going to help her clean? I'm going to help her clean her, and I'm going to help her get the SWAT team up her ass. So if she thinks getting her head shot off by a SWAT team is cleaning, care for her. I will call the police and make sure she gets shot for, oh, I don't have clean clothes, I remember. I have to go to my storage. Why? Well, I didn't get it in my storage yesterday. So I gotta go to storage. Dangerous Roosevelt self-storage, so dangerous you don't even want to charge a phone there now. And by the way, they have the storage front of it constantly filled up with dangerous, retarded, cannibal zombie indigents all over the place. Sitting in the front area, including people that are cannibal zombies that have carts. They have retarded, mad women a lot of the time, or dangerous people like Hawk-On, sitting in that area of the front with the management. That alone would send me off if I were not already there. Just seeing Hawk-On and the other retards. So what am I doing? I'm also drinking coffee. I put my coffee, I don't use any kind of, I don't keep anything here, like forks and knives. Sorry, wet my nose. I don't keep forks and knives here. I don't keep cups. I had a well-equipped kitchen a few years ago. Had it in storage. Started giving away stuff before I moved in anyway, about 7 years ago. So, or 8 years ago. So, you know, you need less and less stuff as your storage sits there. There's a bum, also one of the retardos, the male with the beard. He's yapping like the others about, quote, demon this, demon that. Demon this, demon that. Remember, these are not rational people, and they tend to be moron level. Remember, they are moron level. There's nothing left but moron. So I'm going to make sure that I don't go in front of the cameras. I am going to wash up the even though my clothing and my clean clothes. And obviously I'm not, you know, it's not that type of video. And Alfred! That's my other video. Remember, they always say once on the net, always on the net. There's Alfred. But I don't need to walk in front of Alfred without a shirt on either. Well, I'm putting deodorant and wiping him off with soap and water. Alfred, stop it. Remember, if I talk to my electronics, it's actually the most intelligent you can find. In fact, I'll leave the heater on again. Like, I like a little heater and I'm brush my teeth. So I don't want to walk in front of Alfred. And there's only 2 legal broadcasts. And I might turn this around now. In the event somebody broke in, then you have 2 places that are hotspot cameras. And if you see me shot ever, well, I didn't do it on purpose. So, I mean, you're not going to blame me for the violence. Got it? Got it. So anyway, so if a truck is out there, and of course your mind is like, okay, innocent truck, it's like some delivery or repair truck. And so I forgot to mention there's a truck out there. What? Because part of you is still, you know, on a groove of, oh, it's just a truck. But it's actually important to mention that there's a truck. Why? I'm telling you, that's how they drag people off, too. It could even be the it could be a van, like an old lady van, as I call it, or an access van. And I didn't get new toothpaste, which I should. And there's a bum thing I absolutely suggest you clean. Well, it will be clean once your ass is shut up by a sweat table and you're put on a gurney. That is cleaning. That's how you clean Washington. You put them in institutions. And that's the nicest, mild way of putting it. Mildness. Let's get our English straight even when our mouths full of toothpaste. And we're understated. It's important to have proper English. And did I show off my weird breakfast? So some shrimp. I threw away my onion. And I had a couple of these. Yesterday I had, well, at least half of it, and I fell into a smoke. Strangely. They're deadly. They're deadly. Absolutely deadly. It's the candy bar cookie. Deadliest weapon I can think of. Oh, there's a bum chanting in QSM. He's playing My Own Poo-Poo. He's a retardo, and the retardos absolutely believe that if they eat you, they'll have power over you, especially if they excrete. Well, the thing is, poo-poo, you were already poo-poo. We want to get technical. And aside from the joke, I don't need to tell jokes about poo-poo being on high diets either. And I went to the dollar store today, bought what? I have a sore area of the eyebrow. I will tell you these things will break in and hit you, and they do what's also, there's a few things they will do. They will poke you up the nose with a drill. I've heard this before. I've heard people confessing to it. They will stab you with a needle in the head, the ears, the eyes. They will purposely try to make you blind, deaf, dumb, debilitated. What's another reason they stick you in the eye? To hide an injection. They'll break your nose. Remember, there's a fixation on destroying the face, including by the black nonsense. And one of the bums is referring to me as a madam. They will refer to you as a criminal for years until they can force you into it. So the bum is fixated on taking my clothes, and he's calling me madam. And he's, you could actually round him up for talking in gibberish. Remember, so they're talking in code, but it sounds like gibberish. They're showing you, if you don't believe they're criminal, they're showing you that they can't speak English. So he's playing something like Madam Subverse Clothing. Once in a while, Madam Subverse Clothing. So he's making a threat regarding my clothes, taking it, and remember, even at
Roosevelt self-storage. My clothing is threatened. I'm threatened, including visible people and people hiding. They never closed the old entrances between Econo and Roosevelt when it was bought or made. And Econo came first and then Roosevelt. Oh, somebody's chanting about crudité. Now, there was a crudité incident where one of the dirty cops was chanting about crudité. The other bums were chanting about crudité. I've heard of the crudité incident several times. Apparently, the dirty cop and the others thought that I had changed them into a crudité platter. And that is a vegetable platter, usually accompanied by dip. That's the American version. They actually have some nice crudité and so, but the usual is like some dry-looking vegetables with some ranch dressing. So the theory there is if you pour the junk food on something, they'll eat it. I don't know if that crudité that I allegedly turned the dirty cop into and the others, I don't know if it involved ranch dressing, which would make it more palatable for morons. Yeah. I still ponder, was there ranch dressing involved? Or was it just dry-looking vegetables? So the moron is chanting about crudité next door. It's a different moron. I think it's one of the fat men that climbed up with a beard from Aurora DSC. Now, interestingly enough, I would not be surprised at some of the zombie males actually having heart attacks from climbing. That would be interesting, and I wonder how many have, but the thing is, they're cannibal zombies, so you wonder, well, what happens? They probably act like they're just visiting legitimately, and then they call the AMR. After all, it's only the people who committed the genocide who really had access to emergency services all these years. And so, remember, the ugly boogeyman is playing "You're to come with mine and have your pants down." Remember, he is ugly and fat, and there is nobody who would want him. There is nobody who would believe him. He is a gross boogeyman. There's an ugly boogeyman that visits 207. It's the fat ass from Aurora DSC with the dark beard. Medium tan complexion. Ugly, ugly, ugly. Got it, ugly? Remember, I tell them they're ugly every day. It's like telling goldfish, you're ugly. Sea monkeys, you're ugly. Is a sea monster, or it's not sea monster, is a sea monkey going to remember that it's ugly? How about your flea circus? It's not really your flea circus. They're out of control. Are they going to remember day after day that they're ugly and repulsive and you don't want them near you? So, just like those animals, there is no mentality left. And so, the ugly, fat man, it doesn't matter how tell an ugly fat man how repulsive he is, he's still going to think he can drag you off. Including ugly retardos from Green Lake Plaza. And he is an ugly retardo. Did you hear that? Are you going to remember it for 5 minutes? You are ugly and retarded. Nobody wants you. Nobody would be seen with you, including pre-zombie. When a man looks like a pop-up taco stand, you would think that they would realize they're hideously ugly. He looks like a pop-up taco stand, where they don't have facilities to wash their hands, or don't want them. So, Mary Alice, by the way, I just realized too, she may have left a trail of people, not just green and blue-eyed dead and light-skinned, she may have left a trail of people that had one different color eye. Cast in their eye, slightly cross-eyed. Mary Alice thought they were witches and killed them. What? Has an eye problem? Oh, cataract? Oh, well, don't worry about them. Mary Alice killed them. And that was in between weeping about her miscarriages, like a Wendigo. Surprised Mary Alice didn't try to eat me 16 years ago. And Mary Alice is caught in between the desire to eat a green-eyed person and to enslave them. Don't worry. Mary Alice always looked like a long-haired man. Caveman. And one of the ugly men is chanting about a dog. That's their favorite thing. Remember, the ugliest of the uglies that chose who were ugly, and that's how we ended up with such uglies in this state. So the cockroaches told people they were ugly and killed them. So it's like the Beatles in that story by Thumbelina. I think I can mention it. The ugly Beatles told people they were ugly. And the ugly fat man solution, so you will not know that it's not his girlfriend, you're going to hold hands. You're going to hold hands with a maggot. Hold hands. They might not be much longer than the rest of the arms, but you're going to hold their hands. I know the arms are there somewhere. Remember, if they ripple or billow here, it's a good thing. And they'll kill you for being fat. My opinion, I'll tell you what to do. But they're allowed to be as fat as they want. And when you see a white that is apparently unmolested, or white looking, and they look like they're flourishing, conversely, it's quite sinister. What does that mean? It means they were involved in the killing. If I were not innocent, I wouldn't be covered in scars, basically. Now, that tact of logic doesn't always work, because what they'll do is, see, it's very convoluted, but you'll find that many people will show up to commit crimes for the other cannibal zombies. And what will happen is those cannibal zombies end up eaten, and I have heard them. So it's the woman cocking a gun for her, what she thinks will be her new cannibal zombie friends. And then you hear later the other zombies dragging the arms off or the hands off. Last night I heard a male being told about I can't remember this, because this happens all the time. I should have mentioned it, but a male, I think it was told that they'd eaten his fingers. And I've heard people serve their own hands, but you know what? My eyes are dry. Why? Well, if you have a cannibal zombie coming somewhere that's eaten children, tortured them, raped them, tortured animals, raped them, whatever, which they do. You have a person like that committing a crime, well, basically, like, if we ever get to war with one of those badass countries that were, not too happy with, or were not too happy with us, and I walked outside the door, am I going to worry about the state? No. I'm going to worry about, will I be able to march out of here? And if I'm here alone and I survived, well, I have to get out of here before all the dead bodies stink, and I have to make sure I have enough clean water and food. But then there's this little bit of convoluted tale that goes in with the stench of bodies. Well, for 30 years, in Safeways and Albertsons, I've actually smelled dead flesh, and at first I didn't know what that smell was, thinking it would be, your mind goes for logic. So you think, that must be some rotted crab. It must be shrimp, but how did it get over in the section with the paper towels? And you complain a few times, and so there's already a smell of dead bodies in the ocean. So survive even that. And the CDC is trying to actually play down the proximity of dead bodies to, I don't know, in regard to food being exposed to dead bodies. So I'm going to be able to run in apparently and get my water and not die. Now, let's put it this way. I'm not blasé about it. There's that rotted smell so often. There are certain safe ways where, because the rotted smell tends to be around certain areas. So I tend to try to buy things that are in plastic. It's like, well, to heck with the crackers in that store. And remember, the cannibal zombies are trying to infest the rest of the world and the other states at the very least with cannibal zombies and cannibalism. And so, some of my purchases are also based on what statues wear. And strangely enough, I'm telling you, I've smelled some of the cannibalism, unfortunately, in an area where there's food for years. I'm not saying it's the same place now because I don't go to the places. I don't go to the same Safeway. It's a different Safeway with the same stench, and people have explained the smell. And they like to refer to it as freshly, if you've ever heard the word freshly. And some of these words that are codes, you will see giggling. There's a bum plane that will perform on the body orally for a friend of mine. No, I won't, but having your friend shot by a SWAT team is a great option. And so a lot of these retardos like to make rape threats. So there is a bum in 208 making a rape threat, or 207 rather, about his friend. So instead, on the plane, you're going to cook. No, but I will get your friend shot by a SWAT team. Would you like that? So if you want your friend shot by a SWAT team, I think that's a great option. If you want them arrested and committed and hauled off and the news coming, I think that's a perfect option. And remember, the boogeyman needs to be committed, and the fact that he is hideously ugly needs to be addressed. So yes, in 207, there are fellatio rape threats coming from a moron. It's an ugly, retarded bum, guaranteed. One of them is an ugly black man from Wallingford Food Bank that looks like a prune face. He is hideous. I've had to call 911 on him. He thought he'd grab me. He pulled a Pennywise. So if you'd like the SWAT team shooting your ass, that's beautiful. Fine. So if you consider a SWAT team shooting your ass up as a sort of a foreplay before your celly gets you, hey, so the SWAT team is the foreplay, and Sally getting him later, that's the, sex act. Sally wants you. Sally wants your ass. And Sally is about the only one who would want your ass, or any other part of you. You're an ugly fucking dog. And I don't have to let a dog touch me. I don't have to touch a fucking dog. How's your ancestors, bitch? There's a foreplay you might have you whipped, every industry, she's yapping and yammering, she's a dumb bitch. You don't have to put up with this shit. And she's playing Lisa. Up under that down, millionaires. I don't listen to a whore. It's a dirty, retarded hooker. That one's a loudmouth, black Nazi cunt. I don't have to listen to her. She's a retarded. I don't have to listen to the ugly, black boogeyman. So what they're going to pull, and remember I'm part black, they're going to pretend that you are racist, and they have a symbiotic relationship with the cops. And the reason why they scream racism a lot of times is what? They'll scream racism to cover up the fact they're doing crimes. So then it gets you on this list, especially if they can commit you and arrest you, including for pretending that nobody's trying to kick your door in. You're just imagining things. Another thing the dirty 911 operators will pull for the ugly black man and the other ugly dogs that nobody would want. The ugly dogs will portray that you're in the hall, you're outside. You're outside, you're in the hall. I called the crack whore several weeks ago. Who was the crack whore? It was a 911 operator. That crack whore tried to tell me I was in the hall. Of course, then you make jokes about how your refrigerator and your heater and all that stuff, that's always in the hall. But to a crack whore, that's pretty logical, huh? So maybe the crack whore keeps her refrigerator in the hallway. The crack code was the actual 911 operator. And by the way, that crack code, and you might say, oh, that sounds paranoid, how can they all compare? It's called, I call it a zombie net. They tend to hang out where they're going to be hidden, where they've gotten away with it, and that ugly freak is playing zombie about me. I hate that zombie heart. Or he's calling her a zombie. He's pretending he's not a zombie fucking freak. And he's playing, you're going to the bathroom and you're going to come with me. So the ugly black moron has a plot of, oh, I want to come back from the bathroom. The ugly black moron thinks, oh, have her disappear and go through the trap door with me from the bedroom. It's an ugly black moron that goes to Wallingford Food Bank. And the library, food bank, and family works and Solid Ground that cater to black Nazis, Hispanic Nazis, and Asian Nazis that will carry off white, Semite, warm-skinned European, and white-looking people. And others that are involved in the genocide. It caters to them. And by the way, I will note, I've heard the ugly black monster thing brag that he can do anything he wants, all he has to do is volunteer. So the ugly black man that's a Pennywise and worse, he's actually worse than Pennywise. He's actually boasted that all he had to do was volunteer and he could do anything he wanted to anybody. And remember, he's an ugly freak that nobody would want, but he wants you to sneak down through a trap door with him. So, in one way, maybe his goldfish intelligence even admits that he's ugly if he wants you to sneak away with it. So he's now admitting possibly that he is ugly, so he wants you to sneak away. Are you admitting how ugly you are? It's about time, bitch. I will tell you that when the gang members want to rape someone, including my own family, they will demean you even further by having ugliest of the ugly drag you off and rape you. Or sneaking in and raping you. Oh, they're playing door ajar. That's called SWAT team up your ass, bitch. Now, you tell me why you would have a door ajar for ugly, nasty shit asses coming in that are retarded and they stink, and an ADT system. Sound logical? Not that ADT is any good. They're nasty, gang member zombies too, like the others. And by the way, I would like to note there is a smell of blood either from the crawl space between 207 and 208. I'm in 208. And that's a reason why I leave, because I start to choke up. And my voice, you can hear my voice getting hoarse. And I start to throw up. And I start to get more, my sinuses are running. So I don't eat meat. There's too much of an association with violence, if you think about it, that also people can hide cannibalism and tortured people and tortured animals in food. It's already hard enough to detect. I don't want to make it worse on myself. And even if whites had been killing blacks, I still wouldn't have wanted to eat black people just because I don't like them. And remember, I'm not even white. I still wouldn't eat blacks. I'd find something else. I'd find mushrooms or something. Or if everyone was starving, I would just find a little secret place to go and just lie there and wait for death, then eating human flesh or tortured animal. I'd probably crawl off by myself. I'd maybe even go to the mountains or something, no food, and just secretly go croak. And by the way, the zombies like to tell you they were starving. I've seen a lot of peanut butter go to waste and a lot of tuna. And I've seen a lot of other proteins such as beans. So beans, tuna, peanut butter go to waste. Almond butter, soy milks, stinky cheese. Those are all proteins. Fish, I've seen fish go to waste. I've seen, like, nobody else wanted the fish. Now people are eating more fish, but you realize there is nobody innocent in Washington. Now it causes me to question people that were behaving strangely 30 years ago and behaving like they were vegetarians and vegans. Why? Some of them were showing the telltale signs that I now know are gang member behaviors. Apparently, my family members, they were cannibals for years. My nieces, the grandnieces, they're just calves for nothing, but they're 3 generations of cannibals at least. My mother may have tried cannibalism. I keep hearing different dates. Remember, you might say, where do you get your information? Well, when my family were playing a game where I didn't want to believe it was they involved, there were a lot of taunts about my mother, a lot of taunts. You have to cut through the BS. So, at the I think that my mother must have tried cannibalism, unfortunately, in the 70s. Also, Dawn Black, where my sister probably fed it to us secretly at Christmas. Larry Blackmore, sneaking around, has taunted me with that. Like, you didn't know what was in those cookies. So Dawn's Christmas cookies. And they were kind of an interesting premise, but then ruined. My sister would always make something and then ruin it. It's like, oh, stale walnuts with delicious fudge. Stale, they were Asian dry noodles with delicious coating of chocolate or butterscotch. I may have just heard an animal. Bird. These things will actually drug birds and take them. You can't even trust going to the lake. They'll follow you. By the way, the zombies will act like you're the animal torturer, the murderer, the poisoner, even if you're eating the seeds right with the birds. And then the reason why they accuse is so they can actually poison and torture the animals. They're probably drugging them. They're playing magic games, like I'm so magical, we're going to get her committed and arrested by magic. Now, here's one of the ugly boogeymen that they've threatened me to go off with, and he has signaled at the front door. It's that ugly black man. And he gets into a little blue car. I don't think it's the one that's turned around. Remember, he's an ugly boogeyman. Oh yeah, nobody's going to notice that the ugly boogeyman is walking with you suddenly. You don't like blacks, but you suddenly got this old prune that nobody would want. It's not a date, it's a prune. And it's hideous. One of the bums is talking, they'll submit to me and bone. He's talking about a bone, and remember, they think they're magical if they have a bone. Where is the moron talking from? The moron is talking from 207. So you need to commit and arrest 207 for his guests. So 207 needs to be arrested and committed, and just blame him. He can be the sacrifice of his friends. Wouldn't that be nice? Just like my sister and my brother, hey, they want to be kingpins, bust him as such. Get him arrested and committed for, for everybody else. Bust the person that was on duty. Bust the cop that comes in here. If you can only bust one, hey, that's the breaks, isn't it? Remember, these are ugly boogeymen. So the boogeyman would also have you as a slave. It would rape you. It would torture you, but it thinks it's going to look normal if it has you buying its groceries. Remember, it's ugly. Just like Mary Alice is a boogeyman. And remember, they scratched me so I'd be ugly. Still, I don't care if you're 1,000 pounds and scratched up. You're still too good for this shit. So all those gang-scarred women out there, or maybe their husbands scarred them, threw acid in their face, you're still too good for this crap, aren't you? Of course you are. And there's a reason why they destroyed your face. They weren't good looking, they doubted themselves, they knew they were ugly. They are ugly. And if not ugly on the outside, they are ugly on the inside. Hideous, crawling scum. That's why they got your face. So I'm just putting stuff away, packing. And remember, I separate everything, and I don't like people touching my food. And you know, that's a little impossible, but you can keep the touching down. And the touching stays down. Less touching, better off. Advanced mobility is here. It's a white van. I will note that these bums will try to kidnap people with medical vans. So the black boogeyman out there might have you kidnapped for him, or the ugly fat man next door. You're kidnapped for the ugly boogeyman. Believe myself, a couple plastic bags for garbage. Fell on the dirty floor. Or, actually I'll put the dirty clothes in this. They're playing you open the floor. Does that sound logical? So I've actually been in here with the floor shaking and there's been clanging. So remember, what's that game? Blame the victim. The ugly retardo is going to blame the victim. And I do mean ugly retardo. Why would I open a floor so scumbags could come with me, or could come in? Why would I invest in ADT so scum could come in? And then the ugly moron is chanting now about one of their favorite methods of destroying people. And they're playing you off. So the bums will advertise you and then play you owe us. So basically the premise of the satanic gang member zombie, it is such games also. It involves such games, and they're ripping, you know what they're ripping? Either an animal or a person trying to do magic. But the satanic gang members like to play, you're going to pay for us harming you games. You will pay us, and they're playing submit to old man. Nope. Old man's going to go to a nursing, actually, maybe a prison. Old man can be locked up. Old man can't take care of himself. And he's a cannibal zombie. Old man's gonna go. Submit to old man. Nope. Old man might face SWAT team. So old man wants SWAT team. Old man, ugly old man wants a SWAT team up his ass. Now what am I doing? I'm getting things ready. I might use the restroom one more time, though it's not safe in there. And remember, the ugly black boogeyman and the other boogeymen have said, you're going to come through the trap door, you're going to go with me obliquely. They like to use the word obliquely. There's a bomb playing blah, 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 blah every time you open the door. Remember, the bum's trying to act like he's magical. And then he's playing you a door. It just goes on. And you'll see that there's a very big reason for my leaving here. Very big reason. So you don't have to listen to retarded males, females, and its. And one of them, I think, is chanting about Johnny. And there is a popular game of calling victims by a certain name to destroy them, then nobody knows who it is. They've actually called me my Linda, or Linda. Linda. My Linda. My Linda. And then one of them's going off into a tangent we called Hakani. So just those statements alone, you could get them rounded up as retarded lunatics. They are lunatics. He says we called Hakani. I'm going to the restroom, and there is no legal meaning of an ugly black lunatic in the bathroom. There's a bum saying whip, and that's a constant threat. And then the ugly, retarded black guy from Aurora DSC is chanting, "We absolutely have inside of you." And remember, there's usually an ambush threat from 207. So no matter what, 207 needs to be busted. If you can't get the dirty cops busted right away, we need 207 busted. Remember, they've already called police on 207, thinking it was me. And then I popped up, and the guy was quite confused because they called the police. And then there's a bomb in 207, even though this is a low-income building. He's yapping medication. And remember, he's a nothing and a nobody. There might be one dirty cop, but you can sure get him hauled away by a SWAT team. So I think he wants to glue macaroni on cards. Just like the song I recently I actually wrote a song for you, and it's called Macaroni on Cards, and that's how it goes. And I sing it in a jaunty manner. It's about macaroni on cards. It's a reference to mental hospital activities that would be harmless. Macaroni on cards. And there's a bum playing sold you as though it's legal. And remember, there's a dirty moron cop in there as well. And he is a retardo man. He is a boogie retardo man. There is nobody here but ugly, retarded boogeymen. has chanted vagina. And remember, these are sick freaks. They've actually told me I was going to have an FGM, but it even gets worse. Why? Well, just like my cousin who's told me she's going to eat chunks of me, yes, they have mentioned that area. Remember, these are sick freaks. Any cop who goes with these freaks, you know what they are in Washington anyway. I'm full from breakfast, and I try to keep myself calm in case you're wondering what's going on. Am I on drugs? No, I'm calm. Oh, and then the retard is saying police order. Do I listen to police order? He's saying police order here all day. He's making a captivity threat. Do I listen to the ugly moron? No. That could be Michael Tudhope. He is the Tudhope of Tudhope Construction. He's just a bumbling looking old drunken cannibal now. He's a nobody. He's nothing. And remember, I used to think that he and my sister were actually, I thought they were hardworking people. It turns out they weren't. They were just cannibals. And they had killed people for their money, their property, etc. So were they actually even hardworking? No. Were they industrious at all? No. They are nothing. And then there's a whore yapping about keys. But remember, she wants to get shot by a SWAT team. She's volunteering. She's a whore. Melissa Udd and her whore daughters would love to get shot by a SWAT team. It's one of their fondest wishes. And you can help them with that. You know you can help them. They want to be rounded up and put into a Guantanamo Bay-like setting. And I know you can help them out. They're begging me.